And I'm hiking up this thing, and I'd stop every so often. All I hear is this crunch, crunch, crunch behind me. And I think, oh my gosh, it's some stupid bear. So I keep hiking up. Well, I finally bust through the frost line, and you can see, well, Dave's probably another 50 yards ahead of me, pointing behind me.
Oh, man.
I think, you got to be kidding me. So he said, you hear that? And I said, yeah, I did. So we went over to the other side, and we found this ravine. So we jumped on that and just slid all the way back down. Well, then later in the afternoon, we met up with Dave. He said, so were the bear behind us? No, he had like 30 deer walking parallel with you guys.
Oh.
So...
Hello, this is Jimbo from the YouTube channel Jimbo South Dakota, and this is the Hog House Chronicles podcast. And my wife Mary and I just got done having dinner with Brett and Sheri Cownie, good friends of ours for a lot of years. Brett and I worked together full-time at the South Dakota Air National Guard for quite a long time. And so, Brett, you joined a lesser-known portion of the military that we're going to get into here. Pretty interesting. I've been wanting to hear more of this story for a while. So why don't you just go ahead and start off with telling us as much as you want about where you grew up, born, family, and then move into how you got interested in the service you went into.
Yeah, I was born in Sioux City. Lived there till 76. Have an older brother and 2 younger sisters. In 76, we moved to Wakanda, down by Vermilion. Went to school there, graduated from there, and my dad's oldest brother was in the Navy, and I think he told his younger brothers, don't go Navy, so that started the Cownie Coast Guard tradition.
There you go.
My dad was in, his older brother was in, and his younger brother was in, and then my brother joined, I joined, and then our cousin joined.
I had no idea. I thought it was just you.
No, it's been a family deal for quite a while. Tried to get one of the boys to go into it, but just never worked out. So, But yeah, that's how we got into the Coast Guard, is from South Dakota. Nobody could understand how we ever figured out where the Coast Guard was or who they were. So,
or even wanted to be in something dealing with the water so much.
Yep. Closest recruiter was Omaha, so that's where I went down and did my paperwork and did all my stuff to join. So.
Then in Wakanda, I went to college, USD Springfield, with Mark Young.
Yep,
and
he was a year ahead of us.
A year ahead of you.
Yep.
Okay.
Sheri and I were classmates, so that's where we had met. Yeah, I don't know much more about as far as the Coast Guard portion of it went. Did my boot camp in Cape May, New Jersey. My brother was stationed out in New York at the time and was on the Dallas, and his car was still back home in Wakanda. And so we'd worked it out. Me and a buddy of mine drove his car out to him. And then I did my final swear-in New York City. They threw me on a bus and took me to Cape May. Did my 8 weeks there, got done. Come home for a week, I suppose. Then they called it A school in the Coast Guard. That was at Governor's Island out in New York. So you're right in the harbor, right by the Statue of Liberty is where my school was. That was 26 weeks, fell over Christmas and stuff like that. So it was basically about 30 weeks I spent out there.
Are all the boot camps in one spot, or do they have multiple?
They only had Cape May when I went in. Before that, they had one out in Alameda, California. That's where my brother went through his basic, but then they shut that one down, and one in Cape May, New Jersey was the last one left.
So is there much water stuff with the boot camp itself?
Oh, yeah.
The basic training? Describe some of that if you could.
They got an Olympic-sized pool, of course, so they have requirements on you have to be able to swim that back and forth like 4 times. Wasn't really timed. It's just you had to be able to stay afloat. And that was one of the things that amazed me the most, is how many people came there and couldn't swim.
At all?
At all.
Oh my gosh.
And how they got in, I still have no idea. Most of them would get set back a couple weeks, and then after a few times, if they couldn't get it, then they were done. The other thing, they had an Olympic-size high dive, and that was supposed to simulate the deck of a ship. And if you had to abandon ship, how you went through that. And then you got to pretend that the water is on fire above you. So you had to swim down as deep as you could, and then you'd come up and part the water and just get your face above, take a breath, and go back down.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to do that the length of the pool twice. Pretty much that was it. You did that a few times.
But that's plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like to me.
Yep. Yeah. It's not as bad as what I'm sure the rescue swimmers and all that have to go through, but
Right.
just for basics.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did I do after that?
Well, you made the flag team out there. You were on the...
Yeah, I was on the honor team out at Coast Guard in boot camp, so we got to do the ceremonial detail for that. That was kind of neat to spin the M1 rifle with that.
Mm-hmm.
So every Friday when there's a graduation, then we'd go out and do that performance before the graduation and that, which got me in trouble in the long run because our graduations, there's like 13 people in the stands. So when our oldest son went through basic down in Lackland, Lackland, Sheri and I were going to go down for the graduation. She goes, "What to expect?" And I said, "Yeah, there'll just be a couple parents there. And it won't be nothing big."
Yeah.
I had no idea what a spectacle that was.
Couldn't find a spot to stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
Well, and if you would have known, you would have got registered as a VIP. being
Well, I
chief.
did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, and so I show up dressed like I am right now, shorts and a shirt. And go walking in, they say, "Oh, you Chief Cownie, here, we got a spot for you." What the heck? Well, thankfully, there was another guard guy, a lieutenant colonel. I can't remember where he's out in New Hampshire. And he's looking at me, and I'm looking. He's dressed like I am, too. No idea.
yeah.
Two guard
Everybody
guys.
else was
Yeah.
in uniform. Yeah.
That was
We learned the first time.
so.
So in your timeline there, then, so when did you come into the picture?
Well, so when he moved to Wakanda, I grew up 8 miles north of Vermilion on the Bluff Road. So I was 8 miles from Vermilion and 15 from Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, your parents could choose what school you went to. My dad was a Vermilion graduate, and my mom was a Wakanda graduate, and they just chose Wakanda.
Uh-huh.
So went to school there, and then he came in the 6th grade. And I don't know, I always called him a city boy because I grew up on a farm, and here he come from the big town of Sioux City, Iowa, you know.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our long-standing joke, but we got to be best friends throughout school. And our senior year prom, we had both broke up with our high school person we'd been dating for off and on for that, so we just decided we would go as friends together to the senior prom because neither one of us had anybody to go with.
And you were the same class?
Same
Yep.
class.
Really?
Yep. So that was April of our senior year, and we went to prom and pretty much started dating right after that. It just seemed like we were supposed to be dating. I don't know. And then he left in June for basic training. So, and I was getting ready to start nursing school down at USD in Vermilion. So he did come home, for that 7 days or 10 days of leave or whatever in between basic. We saw each other then. I started college, and after he was done in California,
Well, I got done in New
or
York.
done in New York, then his first school was in California.
Flew home. Dad and I drove out to California. That's where his older brother that was in the Coast Guard lived. And I was going to Vallejo for cryptographic school for another 2 months.
And by then I had started college, and for Thanksgiving, he had asked if I could come out there. Well, I had never left South Dakota in my
I
life.
was out to New York, though. You came to New York for
Yes, New
Thanksgiving.
York would have been first. So, yes, he was in New York. And I thought, my dad will never let me go. They said, okay. So I had to get special permission from college because you couldn't miss so many classes in nursing school or you were in trouble. And
Right.
it was a whole ordeal. But I got on a plane for the first time in my life, didn't know how to find my seat or anything, and flew by myself to New York and didn't even know how to get off an airplane. Like, I picked a person that was on my plane and had a hat. And I'm like, I'm just going to follow that guy, not knowing he's probably getting on a different plane. I knew nothing. He was tall and I could see him going through the crowd. And I heard somebody holler my name, and he was at the airport and spotted me out in all that
we're in
crowd.
LaGuardia.
Yeah.
That's when you could still walk up to the gates and that. So I was walking down to her gate
And saw me.
all of a sudden I saw her going the other direction, and
Yeah, he hollered. So I found him. Anyway, yeah. So I stayed at guest housing out there. It was over Thanksgiving. So we attempted to go to the Macy's Day Parade. It was about over by the time we
Saw a few
finagled
balloons, and
the
that's about
subway and got down there. But so I got to see him then. I don't think you came home.
Yeah, bro.
Did you get to come home for Christmas? So then we saw each other then. And then he was going to be transferred to California in March. And he surprised me and came home on their way because they were going to drive from one side to the other. And came home with an engagement ring, and we got engaged that
look
next
at that.
March. Yeah.
That had to be fun.
And then he went back, and in May, 2 months later, while he was in California, he had relatives that lived out there, and his cousin was getting married. And once again, I got to so now I went to the other side of the country and flew out to California and went to the wedding and got to see him out there for a bit. And from there, I came back to school, trying to figure out wedding plans while he was gone. And from there, he was going to get transferred to Kodiak Island, Alaska.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna hit on a bunch of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit there. So you did multiple schools for the Coast Guard.
Yep.
Can you describe the basic career field you're in, but then what each school was teaching you?
The one out in New York, the A school, was electronics. So the first, I'm going to say 20 weeks of that was just no kidding basic electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And later to find out that they were way more thorough than what some of the other branches were teaching. And then once you got done with that, depending on where you were at in your class rankings, you could pick what area you wanted to go into, like Loran or ComNav, and I'm trying to think of the other one. But I chose ComNav.
What do those two mean?
It's basically just radios, transmitters, and navigations for the ships.
Communication,
or on land.
navigation is
Okay,
common.
Loran is just another
Loran
version of that,
Loran had its own field. That was prior to GPS. That's how you did all your navigations. They'd have these huge Loran towers like out at ADAC, other places, and they put out a signal that the fishermen would triangulate across, and then that's how they'd know where they were at and where to put their boat or their pots and stuff like that. So, so yeah, I went through ComNav, and then part of ComNav school was then you had to go through cryptographic school after that. So that was at Mare Island Naval Base.
What's cryptographics then?
How to send top secret messages or secret messages. It's a way of encrypting the stuff.
Message system back in the day.
Back in the day, which I'm sure that's not even a thing anymore.
I'm sure not, yeah.
But yeah, so we were on a Navy base out there. Me and a couple buddies got us the huge studio, we called it, apartment, and lived off base. And it was kind of nice out there because they always had some Coast Guard present, but not enough to know what we really do or what we're really supposed to be doing.
Right.
So we'd wear uniforms that weren't authorized or anything like that, and nobody would challenge us. And then the odd thing, too, is the Coast Guard cap, like we had in the Air Force, but you have a Coast Guard emblem on it. So you get a lot of young Navy guys Well, you see somebody that has that on something on their hat, you just assume it's an
It's
officer.
an officer. That's what I thought you were going to
So-
say. You're getting saluted all the time.
We were walking down the street one morning going to school, and this buddy of mine that was in there walking, reading the paper in uniform, looks up, and these guys come by, and the young kids are saluting him, and their chief, which is an E7 in the Navy, looked at them kids. He said, "You know what you just did? You just saluted the lowest life form on this base, a coastie." And we just all broke out laughing. So, but
Yeah, see, a lot of us never, growing up and stuff, didn't know that, like, the Coast Guard is a portion of the military.
Yep.
I always just figured it was all strictly a civilian organization meant to save people out at sea.
no,
But there is an affiliation there.
no, they started out as a Department of Treasury, and that's where they're the Revenue Cutter Service is what they started out with back in revolutionary times. When I was in, they'd been moved over to Department of Transportation, and then if called to war, they move under Department of Navy.
Okay.
And now they're under Homeland Security, and same thing. If called to duty, then they go under the Department of Navy still.
Okay. I wonder if that changes their pay status, like us, being guard, but then if you get called up on,
Nope. No,
or
you're
they just stay on the
you
same
are just
pace?
like active duty
Okay.
the whole time you're there. So
At least they don't have that complication.
no. Other than when you get a deal like now, their funding is cut at the moment,
Right.
so they're not getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
but
So what did you think of going to Alaska, especially Kodiak, Alaska?
Well, right. So like I said, I'd never been anywhere. Then I went to New York. Then I went to California. And he didn't come home the second Christmas when he was stationed up in Kodiak. And we were going to get married the following May after I graduated. And I was trying to do all the wedding stuff myself. And so then I flew to Kodiak to see what it was. See what I was getting myself into. And yeah, I don't know. He and a Filipino friend lived in an old trailer house thing. That's where I went and stayed with those two guys and had Christmas, kind of. I guess it was probably a little bit after Christmas or my Christmas break at
So
school.
that time you
so
went
then
up
I
there
went there and
for
we
good?
finalized. No.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was before I was going to graduate in May and we were getting married in
that's
May.
right.
So I took different stuff. We finalized wedding plans up there. Like I had most of the stuff picked out and kind of showed him some stuff. And because this was long before cell phones or,
Right.
we wrote letters that whole time in between there. But kind of took the last minute stuff to get figured out for the wedding. And I don't even remember how long I stayed. Not
long.
like a long weekend or something. Anyway, and then I came back home, finished school, and I mean, it was beautiful up there, totally different and we were on Kodiak Island, so in the Gulf, so actually warmer weather than we had back here in the winter in South Dakota. It was 30s, hardly ever snowed up there. Came back home, and then his next leave was to come home for the wedding, so
Right.
we saw each other about every 4 or 5 months for our dating.
So Anchorage is
Our
on the
dating
south
time.
coast of Alaska. So where from there is Kodiak, where you were at?
You go southwest of Anchorage.
About 250
So if you
miles,
triangulate
maybe south
that
of Anchorage.
in Homer, that would be
Okay.
Kodiak would be out there.
Uh-huh. Yep. Homer being on the south side of the
Yep.
Kenai Peninsula.
Yep. Yeah, only way in is by ferry or airlift. So didn't get to. We'd go to Anchorage maybe once a year, or otherwise, sometimes the wives could take a C-130 ride
Yeah.
over there and spend the day. So
Yeah, if they had spots, they'd let the wives hop on, and we went to Anchorage and shopped for the day and brought it back. It was cheaper to buy up there than everything came by sea land
Right.
into Kodiak.
Yeah,
if it
Anchorage
came,
itself is expensive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Kodiak could be even more.
but yeah, so some of the other wives, and we'd just get on the plane and Space A. If there was Space A, we'd hop on and go for the day. And
So was it like a Coast Guard base where you were at, or was there multiple people that had multiple jobs and career fields there, or
No,
what was it, a communication
I was
station?
at a communication station, Kodiak, and I was at we called it the receiver site at Holiday Beach. So the main base was an air stay, and then there was 3 buoy tenders, and I think 1 cutter out of there. If you ever seen the movie with Kevin Costner,
The Guardian.
The Guardian, the opening scene in there where he's taking off in the helicopter, that's the air stay on Kodiak.
Kodiak, and
In
it
that
really
old
was
Woman's
it.
Bay right behind it.
When we saw it.
So yeah, the receiver site that I worked at was probably about a 15-mile drive from the main base, and then the transmitter site was another mile away from the main base, and then we called it the link room. That's the one that microwave linked the two together.
Yep.
That's where we'd meet in the mornings, and then the crew for the Holiday Beach would jump in the Suburban, and we'd head out to work from there, which was a nice place to be. The only bad thing was in the winter times, dark when you got to work. Go out and you work. It's a secure building, so no windows allowed. So you sat in there all day.
Oh, wow.
Get out, and it was dark, so the only sun I would see would be on the weekends. But on the flip side, in the summer, you're out fishing thinking, okay, I suppose I should be getting home, and 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's still light out, and I got to get up in 3 hours to go to work. So,
And they didn't have base housing, or we weren't on base housing anyway. We had rented the bottom half of a house in Kodiak. So, and then he would drive, which it wasn't very far.
No.
You could only drive 45 miles total from
I don't know
one
if it was
to
that.
as far as you could go, and you had to turn around and come back anyway. But that was a day trip. But
So I presume you didn't have a vehicle there or anything. It was just Coast Guard vehicles that you drove, or did you have your own?
I'd bought a pickup when I was in California, and I had that shipped up there. And then when I came home to get married, they got off the airplane. My dad had been sick for some time. He was at the VA, got home, phone call, better get up to the hospital. Things weren't looking good. So we went up there. What was it? We buried him a week before our wedding.
he died.
Oh, man.
Well, he died a week to the day before our wedding, and the funeral was Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we were to get married that Saturday. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but
That plays on your emotions big time.
yeah.
So I'd had a Cutlass back here that I'd left. Well, then flew back, had our plane tickets to go back up after the wedding. Well, with all this chaos, the tickets, we think, got burned. So we're contacting Dashel and everybody else. We need our tickets. What can we do? And nobody could do anything. You had to wait 1 year before they would refund it. Well, we didn't have enough money to buy more tickets to go back up. So we ended up at the last minute, my dad's pickup. I traded my sister. I said, you can have my car. I'll take Dad's pickup. We loaded up everything in a U-Haul and headed out. We could get tickets from Seattle to Kodiak and then have this pickup shipped from there. It was cheaper than flying from South Dakota. So we ended up doing that.
We don't have
instead.
a lot of recollection how all of that happened because there was a lot going on that week. But we
sure.
somehow, and then the fuel pump went out on the pickup. We
Memorial
left
Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend after our wedding, and we thought we were stuck forever. But
Yeah, somehow we're out in, what was it, Butte, Montana?
yeah,
Pulled into a truck stop. Went in and asked them, I said, is there anybody that would have parts on the weekend? She said, well, go check the board over there. So I did, and I called this guy. Yeah, he was in. He'd come out, put a fuel pump in the pickup in the parking lot.
on a holiday
on
weekend.
a holiday weekend, and I don't think he charged me about $100.
All right. We lost
And got
like
us back
3
on the
hours
road,
time on the road
so-
is all we lost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something worked out.
Something worked out.
Yeah, that was amazing. So
Yeah. Only to get there. So we finally we took the ferry across then, and got there. And then all the rest of the stuff was going on Sealand to come to pick up everything, all our wedding stuff. It was all packed in a thing, or the wedding stuff that we were going to take, I guess. And by then you were already in that apartment in the house. So he had 3 pots and pans and whatever a bachelor lived on,
Right.
in the apartment. And we got there, and I had been there just the one time before in December and met one other couple, Dave and Angelica Sweet, that were, he was stationed up there, and Angelica was from Germany. And so I at least knew of someone up there, but we got back and we were there, 2 days, and then he got orders. He was to leave for 6 weeks.
California.
Back to California. So he left. I sat there with nothing.
Yep.
And at that time, you had to handwrite your boards to take your nursing boards, and you could only do that twice in a year, where now it's on a computer. Whenever you're done, you're done.
Right.
So I had to wait to July to take my boards, so I couldn't work anywhere. And Angelica was working at the fishing cannery in Kodiak, so I went to work at the fishing cannery with her just for something to do because he was gone. And it'd be comparable to Morels or
Right.
Smithfield, whatever they are now here in town. But 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. You'd call in the morning to see if your shift was on or what time you were to go. And I basically pulled fish guts or folded crab and put them in a crate. And nobody spoke English. And
Wow.
you'd come home smelling like a fish. And I collapsed in bed and went back and did it the next day.
So it was
And
mostly Native people that were working
it was
there?
a lot of Aleuts up in, and a lot of Filipinos.
Okay.
And then the gal I knew, but we weren't on the same line, of course, in there. She was from Germany and did speak English, but yeah, and most of the other people I think could speak English, but they're with their group and
Right.
they
They're
spoke
not
the
gonna-
other language. So yeah, it was kind of long.
Were there very many options for
days.
work up there for people?
I didn't even look for anything else just because she was the only person I knew. Had we known all of that prior, I probably would have just stayed back after we got married and waited, taken my board,
Right.
done all that. But we had no idea that he was going to get orders as soon as we got
Yeah.
there. So
There wasn't a lot of extra money to change your mind
no,
on any
no, and yeah,
decision.
so everything was kind of a mess the way it was. So while he was gone, then Sealand finally came in, and I got a call that it could come down to pick up. So now the pickup, his dad's pickup, had arrived, and the crate went open, and the guys that were unloading it drove it out, and I watched him drive over 2 big spikes. Boom, blew the 2
Oh,
tires
man.
on it. And I said, well, what are you going to do about that? He said, you better drive like hell and get to town before they go flat.
Oh, man.
So I did. I drove really fast and got to town and had
No
them change the
accountability
tires.
whatsoever.
Yeah, so that was kind of how it started. But then we got a few more pots and pans and
Yeah.
a few things came in, but that was our beginning anyway. Yeah.
That was the
So we did
beginning.
decide we had been married over a full year before we spent a full month together, because he was getting sent to school or something. There was always somewhere he was getting
Yeah, we
sent.
go out to ADEC
Yeah.
and Barrow and stuff like that. So
So there were shorter and smaller schools that you had to go to continue your education or not?
no, well, that Dave Sweet that she had talked about, he was a reservist out of Florida that somehow or another got hooked up. They had a system there in Kodiak they called SARSAT. It was a search and rescue satellite system that belonged to NASA. It was a correlation between them, the Canadians, and Russians, and then the Coast Guard was maintaining them for them. And so Dave got me hooked up to be his backup to work on the satellite system. Well, he was getting ready to transfer, or he might have already gone. Well, then they come up with a new satellite system that they were going to do for fishery counts. So that's why I had to go to school as soon as I got back is go down and learn how to use this system. So I think that's about the only schools I really went to.
Right.
But
Otherwise,
then
it was maintenance stuff.
Right.
That
out at Adak, Alaska, we had equipment out there that we'd have to go service every so often, and Barrow, Alaska would have some too. So
I remember hearing SARSAT with some of our radio stuff.
yeah,
in
it was
the life support
ELTs
crew.
and EPIRBs is what it did. It used satellites to triangulate the signal, so you get 2 or 3 passes, they could be within about 5 feet of where the wreckage was.
Pretty good.
Now, again, I'm sure GPS has replaced all that by now. So.
Right. Yep, even more accurate.
Right.
Was there much excitement for your day-to-day life there?
Typically there wasn't. I can only remember one that all the communications were recorded on reel, and there was one fishing boat that went down, and they were trying to get a better pinpoint of the time. So they called me in and went in there, and they were replaying it, and all you could hear was Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is the, and it was gone. And they never found an oil slick. They never found anything. So just weird. But that was a big part of it. There's just a lot of boats went down while you're there. So
yeah, that's a sad part there.
Yeah.
and one bear on your way in.
Yeah.
Hearing some rain.
There's the
Sounds
rain.
like it. Yeah, about hit a bear on the way into work one morning, so that was kind of exciting.
Brown bear.
Kodiak grizzly.
Kodiak. Yep. Guess makes sense, huh?
Yeah. A buddy of mine was driving. He had a little Mazda, I think a 626 or something like that, and I don't know what he was looking at. Tom, what? Bear? Where? If he would have hit that thing, I'm sure it would come right into the side with us, but yeah, it was kind of interesting. Went fishing with a buddy of mine one time up there too, and took the pickup to the back side of this lake and found it odd to begin with. First thing he does, he comes down with his fishing poles and that, and then here he comes out with his rifle. I said, "What's the rifle for?" He goes, "Well, in case there's bear out there." And okay. So we park around the back side of this lake and then walk around the other side around. Couldn't see where the pickup was anyway. Pretty soon, Pat, I said, "Are you passing gas or what?" "Why?" "It stinks." "Well, what are you smelling?" I said, "Oh, you don't have skunk up here, do you?" "No." He goes, "You still smelling it?" "No." Pretty soon I said, "Well, here, I smell it again." Well, now he's getting nervous. He said, "We better go." Well, we walked back. He had left his rifle up against the pickup. All around the pickup are bear tracks. So it did us a lot of good. So thought, we might end this fishing trip for the
When
day.
you learned a bear smells like a skunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
Yeah, well, base housing wasn't too far from there, and they're a scavenger, so they spend a lot of their time in the dump eating out of that. So I think that's where they get their smell from.
Mm-hmm. So how much time did you guys spend up there then? And how much time of a career in the Coast Guard?
I was just there a little over 3 years, and you were there, a little over 2 years?
Yep, because you went up.
I had to extend to get married.
Yep, you would have gone up August of 84.
4. Yep, that's right.
And I went up May. We got married May of 85, so we would have gotten there in June, and we came back July of 87. So he had been there 3 years, and I had 2.
You had to fill out a leave slip with the permission to get married, and we still have that in our safe.
There you go.
But yeah, since I was under 3 years, in order to take on a dependent, I had to extend a couple months to do that. So then it came up for time to re-enlist, and Coast Guard has what they call a detailer. You put in your top 10 wish list. And my brother Brody was about to get transferred too, so he thought, well, let's see if we can get somewhere close together. They won't let you be on the same thing, but so I told my detailer, and he told his. So he got communication station Miami, and mine called me up and said, well, you can get on Mellon or no, that wasn't the melon. That was the first one. He said, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's big, it's white, and you're going to be on it for a long, long time. That was when Reagan was doing all the reduction. And so the thing was all the land duties were going to go to contractors. So the only thing left was boats. So I punched out, and of course it never happened, but
Well, but right, when you tried to get stationed together, that's when you went
that's
to
right.
Alaska and he went to Miami.
that's when he was leaving New York and he went to
Yeah.
Miami. And my detailer said, well, I can get you to the melon out of Seattle. I said, well, you can't get me any closer. He
Kodiak.
said, well, the only thing I have is Kodiak. And I thought, well, if I'm going to see Alaska for that much, I'd just soon be on land up there. So that's how I ended up in Kodiak.
Sure. So were you, did you know you were going to get into another military organization when you got out of the Coast Guard, or was there some
No.
time in between there?
No, we got back. Lived in a place in Canton for a little while that we were renting. I got
Well, we lived with my mom
a
and dad
lived with folks for a few months.
for about 3 months.
Pretty
I think,
standard, though.
looking, right, trying
Yeah.
to find, and I could find a job
Yeah, she was having
everywhere.
better luck
Everybody
than
was
me.
hiring nurses, and I had to tell them I might only be here for a few months because it depended on what he found, like
Right.
where we were going to be. But
They're still hiring, though.
yeah,
Yep.
but I thought I had to be up front, or I felt bad, like, yeah, I'll take it, and then I might move in
Right.
2 months. But
Because you have a conscience.
Yeah. I ended up getting a job at Dakota Security, installing alarm systems. And that's where I met Rex. He
Okay.
was the locksmith there.
Yeah.
so then we found this place to rent in Canton, just to get out of my mom and dad's hair for a while. So
I knew Rex could pick locks, but I didn't know he actually worked as
Yeah.
a locksmith.
Yeah,
he
You have
was
to
the
bring that up to
locksmith.
him next time I
Yep.
see him.
So, but the owner, Bob Johnson, was a traditional down to CE. And he finally got me talked into going out and talking to him about joining. So I did, and it looked like it was going to be a good deal, and we talked it over, and it was fine. But what was his name? Dave Heaton, the recruiter, couldn't figure out how to get the Coast Guard to release me from my inactive duty. So I had to sit and wait out until that time came up. And then at the time, they had openings in ComNav and maintenance or avionics age, which was the predecessor to AIS PMO. And they asked me if I'd take that one because that school wasn't available anymore, and my schooling satisfied the requirements. Well, I didn't know anything about either one of them, so yeah, I can do that. So ended up in avionics age,
it's just a traditional.
just a traditional.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it out there, so started putting my name in for any job that would come open.
Right.
So, but
And back then, the openings didn't come around very often.
no,
No.
It was kind of a joke, not joke, because somebody either had to retire or die for
Yeah,
an opening.
Yep.
And yeah, so we rented that house in Canton, and I went into Canton one day just looking at, because in Kodiak I worked at a doctor's office off the fishing docks, so we saw missing fingers, fish hooks, whatever. We saw a little bit of everybody there. So I was looking for a clinic type job, and I just stopped at the clinic in Canton at the time, and they just said, no, there's no opening. It's never gave my name, nothing. They just said there was maybe overnight shift at the hospital. Try out there. Went back to our little rental home, and that same day or the next day, the phone rang. And, are you looking for a job? Yeah, well, this is Carol Regier from Keystone Treatment Center. She heard about so I had walked into her husband's clinic, Dr. Jean Regier, but how they tracked us, I have no idea. Small little town talked, I guess, and knew somebody who knew was living in this house. And she called, and I went in for an interview that day, got the job. So then I was working at Keystone Treatment Center. Well, he
sweet.
was driving to Sioux Falls, and then I don't know how long you were out there. then the Gulf War came, right? And you
No.
got full time.
No, it was
That would have been later.
89.
87, yeah.
And then
Oh, yeah.
we were getting ready to convert to the F-16s.
Yeah, 'cause that was about
Yeah.
91.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that shop, I had to retrain into a different, well, I guess it was just Dick Ryder was the only one left because Paul was going to retire. And Gunther Condert come up to me and asked me if I would come out and manage that shop while those guys went to school. So that would have been in 90. So he's going to put me on AGR for about 9 months.
Active Guard and Reserve.
Yeah. And so I went home and talked to Sheri about it. And I said, I don't know. I said, it'll be nice, but if I don't have a job at the end of it, then what do I do? So talked to Gunther a little bit more about it, and I won't say what he said, but anyway, I ended up doing that. And by the time it was over with, I had gotten a full-time position in the F-16 program. So
Okay. So did you have any, to go back just a little bit, any adventure stories in Alaska before we, and you can always, if something comes up later, this isn't chronological, you can jump around, but any adventure stories in Alaska before we get into your South Dakota term?
Well, for living there, I guess we had a couple wild flights. It's just kind of like anywhere. When you live there, you don't go, we were working, so we didn't really, we hiked a couple times with the Staven and Gallica. We'd climb up to the snow peaks in the top, everybody carrying a gun because you never knew what was going to be up
Yeah, you weren't
and
really,
then sliding down on the snow to get down a lot faster than we climbed up.
you weren't really sightseeing across Alaska because limited money as well.
Right. So did a lot of fishing. And then my parents came up for 10 days, so we kind of saw more then because we took them around sightseeing, even just on Kodiak that we hadn't seen a whole lot.
That happens quite a bit, when people live someplace that maybe they've been to some place once or so, but then once somebody shows up, then they got to show them.
So when we left, when we were going to come home, then we took 2 or 3 weeks and drove up north, went up to Fairbanks and kind of did sightseeing on our way to get back to drive home. But that was
yeah, the flying
most
in
of
and
our-
out of Kodiak
Oh, yeah.
was probably some of the most exciting, though, because there's a mountain at the end of the runway. And then the
barometer.
base town road is in between the two of those. So they had to decide pretty quick whether or not they were going to take the landing or they had to pull away.
Right.
And we were in Anchorage for something, or maybe we were coming back.
We were trying to get out, so I think you had leave, and we were trying to get from Kodiak to Anchorage to get our connecting flight to fly home. And there was bad weather. Kodiak Air or whatever it was called wasn't flying. And then there was one other airline up there. I don't remember
Scaronautics.
we called it Scaronautics. I don't
The
remember what
secondary airline.
what the real name was, something aeronautics, but it was called Scaronautics. And they weren't even flying. And of course, we're like, you've only got so many days of leave, and we wanted to get out of there. And the mail plane guy walked in the hangar. And he's like, I'm going, if you don't mind sitting on the mail. So we did. We climbed in the back of this little prop plane. I don't know what it was.
I don't remember there was twin
And
prop.
sat on mailbags, and he flew us out of there. But yeah, when we landed, we did 360s in the
It just skidding back
plane.
and
It
forth.
was
I mean, just
solid
flop.
ice when we landed, but we
Oh, wow.
did it. And
You know the mail.
we
Yeah,
Hail,
got to get the
rain,
mail. then.
sleet, ice.
yeah, we made it. So that was probably our biggest adventure.
No, one of my ones that I remember is Dave and I and a couple of buddies went to the backside of the island. They had to purchase a boat, so we went back, going to go out deer hunting. And we'd jump off, and the other two guys said, well, we were here just last week. He goes, just stay away from that spot over there because some bears had some guys trapped up on the mountain. Yeah, that's okay. We can do that. Well, of course, as soon as he says it, here come a bunch of deer walking right out of that area. So we set up the firing squad and did not do very well. So they take off. So Dave and I go one way and those two go another way, and we're going up the side of the hill. And they call it alderbrush up there. It's just nasty to try to bust through. And I'm hiking up this thing, and I'd stop every so often. All I hear is this crunch, crunch, crunch behind me. And I think, oh my gosh, it's some stupid bear. So I keep hiking up. Well, I finally bust through the frost line, and you can see, well, Dave's probably another 50 yards ahead of me, pointing behind me.
Oh, man.
I think, you got to be kidding me. So, well, one of the other guys busted out about same time, about 20 yards from me. He said, "You hear that?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." So we went over to the other side, and we found this ravine. So we jumped on that and just slid all the way back down. Well, then later in the afternoon, we met up with Dave. He said, "So were the bear behind us?" "No, he had like 30 deer walking parallel with you guys."
Oh.
So,
Missed
oops.
your chance. Otherwise, I guess we did halibut
Halibut fishing. That's
fishing. We
always fun.
did a deep sea fish once while we were out there. That was fun.
A lot of meat on those babies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was on
300
the
and some
bow, and
pound.
one of the deckhands come up to me, and I could see he was watching me. I had something on the hook, and pretty soon he said, "Quit reeling." So I did. Well, then he went back, and on the stern, another guy was fighting one. Well, ended up, I don't remember how long it took him to get it in, but it was like 300 and some pound halibut. And his hook was in the mouth, and my hook was wrapped around his hook.
Oh.
So it probably struck mine first, and then ended up getting caught by his. But so that was kind of interesting.
But yeah, at the end, we all,
Oh yeah,
that was a decision going out. Whatever's caught is split
Right.
between everybody.
Especially
but,
with fish that big.
Yeah. Oh my
well,
gosh.
and actually, when they get that big, they're not that good for eating because they got such
Right.
high mercury levels in them.
Right.
They're a bottom feeder, and
Right.
The smaller ones they
The
call
smaller-
chicken
Chickens.
halibuts.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
What do they consider small? Like a 20, 30 pounder?
No,
90.
I was going to
90.
say more
Yeah.
like 70 or 80. Yeah, it's
Okay.
probably a
Yep.
good eating halibut.
So yeah, we ate a lot of seafood up there. The folks we rented from, they lived above us. He was a fisherman, and that was part of the agreement. Was their freezer was down on our level. Take whatever you want whenever you want. So of course we could have ate salmon every
But
night if we wanted, but nah.
I couldn't look at seafood after working in
I
the
believe
cannery.
it.
So it was funny. It was like just the smell of it. I'm like, and now I love seafood, but back then I'm like, I
Yeah.
wanted.
Wasn't it that movie Castaway too?
Yeah.
Oh,
They had
yeah.
his party
yeah.
for
Yeah.
being saved, and they
Yeah.
have crab
Shrimp
and stuff
and
all
all
over that.
that. Yeah.
like-
Yeah.
But it was
Idiots.
like I had we did eat halibut.
Halibut a lot.
There wasn't really a smell to that when you cooked it, and it
Yeah,
was like,
I've heard it's not real fishy
but the
kind of
other,
deal, but thick
it
steaks.
took me right back to the lines at the cannery. Now I don't, it doesn't bother me.
No.
I could eat salmon every day now.
Mary loves salmon.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we go out, she'll get that. I think we have one fillet left from when we were fishing up there, but that's not freezer burnt yet. Yeah, so I got into the Guard from the Sioux City Guard. I was only there for about
remember that.
18 months after 2.5 years in the Air Force at Offutt. So then I got in part-time, fall of maybe 89, something like that, in the Sioux Falls Guard, and then full-time November 92. So we weren't
Okay.
too far
Yeah, pretty
apart.
close.
And it took us a lot of years to meet each other. I mean, I was, my situational awareness still isn't the greatest. And, I was just, young kid, grew up in a town a square mile, didn't know much of anything. Then you get in the military, and I had a 2-year degree in electronics beforehand from USD Springfield, so I knew a little bit of that. And then found out I was colorblind,
That's what you're saying.
going into the military, so I couldn't do electronics that way. But the didn't really get around to a bunch of the shops. And that's one thing I did as a supervisor later on, was try to take some guard drills and send some people to different shops to see what they do, meet other, because, I was horrible with like even the chain of command and the, how the whole base was set up, how a wing was set up. and all that. So I just kind of started learning that on my own, because I was just a kid. I'm here to do my job, and then I go home.
Right.
And I was that way for years, and then slowly learned it all.
Yeah, I had a little more interaction just because we had to go down and do debrief and that for the pilots and stuff like that. So you got a little bit more interaction, and probably got to know more of them after I went into the electric shop, because then dealing with the egress and you guys and stuff like that a little bit more. So
yeah, and back in those days before 2008, life support would go onto the airplane, and we would our shop would pack the survival kits, and then the parachute shop would do that parachutes and all the rubber gear, life rafts and all that stuff. So we would install those two items on the F-16. So we got to interact with a bunch of maintenance people that way, which was kind of nice. And then in 2008, we combined and merged with the parachute shop, and they took us off the airplane because now we had to learn 2 career fields and all that. So made for some difficult times.
Yeah, I remember that.
After that. But it loved the job, loved the people.
Yeah. No, treated me well. I have no complaints.
I remember we were saying at supper, one of the first times I talked to you very much is we did snowbirds for a while there, almost every year down at Tucson, because, we'd lose so many flying hours up here in the cold weather. And they had us housed in one of the condemned dorms, and then they'd give us a day room or something where we could, furnish our own bar and all that. The Super Bowl, when Janet Jackson had her costume failure, and you and I were engrossed in conversation, so luckily we both missed that. Neither one of us
spared us.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think a while later you were interested in maybe one of the operations jobs or something. We were talking about that, and that's when we got to know each other a little more. But then I saw you in action more. I don't remember if we were going to Saudi Arabia or somewhere, but we were staying in these big white buildings at Morón in Spain.
Oh, yep.
Morón Air Force Base.
Yep.
And there was some kind of electrical issue or whatever, and somebody says, "Get a hold of Cownie. Cownie can fix anything," So I was like, "Well, who's this Cownie guy?" "Oh, yeah, that guy." Yeah. So then through the years, got to know each other a little more. And
Yeah, I think that was the emergency light wouldn't shut off above there, and it was humming or something like that.
Yeah.
So
He's
had to take care of
MacGyvered
it.
a few things in his life.
oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I've heard people compliment you quite a few times on your abilities. And have those abilities ever gotten you in trouble? You didn't expect that question, did you?
Not that any can prove.
My furnace turned on once if I rang my doorbell.
Oh,
He had the heat go off, and he had to hotwire the furnace so we could have heat at night one night. Might have been
No,
a small fire.
Thankfully, I had a good buddy ballpark that I could always just say, it would be funny, and then he would do it. So
yeah.
I could actually keep my hands clean, and it would still happen.
Somewhat.
So him and I did quite a few pranks when we were in avionics. So
Yeah, we'll have to send this link up to Ball.
yeah,
Yep.
well, you can call him Paul. So I first got in, and everybody was saying, "Hey," they were calling him Ballpark. I thought they were saying Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'd been on for a while full time, coming, "Hey, Paul, what are you doing? Why do you keep calling me Paul? That's your name?" "No, my name's Blake." "What?" "No, they just call me Ball, like ballpark." "Ah, okay, now it makes sense." But yeah, I bet he went on. It was a long time before he told me. But
Yeah, you guys have been buddies for a long time.
yeah, we have.
We were all helping gut some of your
Yep.
house for the remodel
Yeah, yes.
last year. That was fun.
Oh yeah, I'm glad it's done.
And well, you helped us here too. But one thing about ours is we had to put up with that like waffle board insulation for years and years and years. But when we gutted and took the lath and plaster, we didn't have
It
to
wasn't
deal with
like
the blow
ours.
in.
Right.
Snow
on
That was a
So-
mess.
But she was pretty warm, and now we're getting towards being done with that remodel here. So you guys were the
Sure
first
looking
people.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First ones we had for supper in the house. So
And it was delicious.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, so we you've probably been to a lot of the same places I have. Why don't you list some of the countries where you've been?
Oh, well, let's see. We did Belgium was probably my first overseas.
That was
Wasn't it?
mine as well.
Turkey, Saudi,
Did you do Curacao?
Curacao,
Israel,
Israel,
Yep.
Iraq,
Singapore.
Afghanistan, Singapore.
I didn't do Afghanistan. My shop was
Iraq,
taking
you
care
went
of
twice.
Yeah, Iraq twice and Afghanistan
2
was
out of
my
3
last
trips.
one. Yep. Yeah, well, Mortaritaville, you know, for our first Iraq trip, we were getting mortars fairly regular.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one we went there, we hardly had any. And then I didn't make it the third trip. I don't remember if we were
Somebody
covered.
was graduating, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
One of the kids
Yeah.
was going
It
to.
was even more benign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Afghanistan, that was a little different though. I mean, they had it dialed in a little bit better. So of course they tell you, you know, you hear the siren go off, hit the ground, wait there a minute or two, and then head for shelter. You know, it was like my first day there or something like that. A cup of coffee, and then walk out and watch the jets and stuff like that. And I'm probably from, I don't know, 10 yards, if that, from the building. Sirens go off. Okay. So I start running for that. I never more took 2 steps and kaboom right over the top. Well, okay, I guess they mean get down, get down.
right away.
So yeah, that was a little bit different.
What was it, in Iraq or Afghanistan that you had the
That was Iraq.
Iraq?
That was the first trip. Or no, that was the second trip. So they made that new building for us on the second trip, if you remember. And the bathroom stunk so bad inside there I couldn't stand it, so I'd still use the porta pots outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm out there, and all of a sudden I hear the sirens go off, and I hear the mortar, and it landed about 100 yards off over by the other has, and went kaboom. And I'm thinking, well, if this kills me, I hope they send Sheri a good letter saying he died in the line of duty. So
Duty, yeah.
Duty. Exactly.
I was not going to jump out and lay on the ground with
No.
the butt sticking up in the air.
Of course, I hear all those stories after he got home, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Yeah, you don't portray much over the phone.
and yeah, that's probably our biggest change throughout the 40 years of military was, like I said, we started off writing letters. I still have a box of all our letters. I mean, that was our only
Wow.
communication was we wrote letters back and forth, and
I think half of my
occasionally,
paycheck went
once
to
I
a
was in
long distance phone
college
call.
and we had the dorm phone still on the wall, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had some big phone bills that came that, sorry, Dad, if you're watching this, we had to finagle every month. How are we going to pay this
Right.
phone bill between the two of us? And then it went to, what did they call the line once you were out here?
Oh, DSN.
DSN
And we could do the morale
line,
calls.
you know, that you'd get the call and
Yeah, they let you, when they first started letting us use it, it was 15 minutes
Yep.
once a week.
Yep.
Something
right.
like that. You could do
and
a
then
morale
by
call.
the time I'd pass it to each kid and it was that echo,
Mm-hmm.
you'd think they were still talking and you'd hear their voice coming, but what? You know, you kept stopping and trying to hear what they were saying and pass it to each of the kids. And about the time I'd finally ask him the question I've been waiting all week to, gloop, you know, there went the phone. So it's like, okay, I guess I'll wait till next week to figure this out.
Now, in some of those, we were able to get out into the community, stuff like Israel, Singapore, and some of them. Are there some things you saw that surprised you walking through any of the communities?
Oh, I don't know if anything. Singapore kind of surprised. I didn't realize that it was so populated as heavy as it was in the way they lived over there. I don't know that Israel really surprised me a whole lot. Of course, it's different to see everybody carrying weapons over there. And you go into a grocery store and there's an armed guy out there with an Uzi. So, I mean, that was a different experience. But no, I really enjoyed Israel. I would like to go back, just do a vacation over there.
Right. Yep. One thing I noticed was in Singapore, when you end up walking through the market, like the food market.
Oh.
And then you see the face of a pig hanging on a
Yeah.
rusty hook over here, flies all over, and you're like, dude, that's food.
Yeah, now you say
Over
that,
here.
I guess I forgot. Jordan was another one. Same thing. You go down there and the goat's hanging on the side and it hung up and it's cut. Okay, there's
Yeah.
fresh meat.
But we've seen that just even in Mexico,
Right.
vacationing. I
Right.
mean, some of the
Yeah, you
not
go,
touristy markets that you get down to are.
you go most places outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
You know. Did we do a Poland trip?
Yep, you were in Poland.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I knew some people in Sioux City that did the Poland trip, and I think it was Sioux City, and a ton of them were saying that they were going back for vacation.
Oh, yeah.
Because they loved having you there. Your dollar went a
Yep.
really long way
Yep.
there, and I don't remember if any of our folks went back on vacation that way, but
And
No,
is
and I'd
that
mention
where
it.
you saw the concentration camps? Where
Yeah,
were you then?
Auschwitz.
So
that was
that
Poland.
was one of the biggest,
Yeah, that was,
probably disturbing things you
Right.
saw.
it's amazing what they would put them
yeah,
people
we saw
through.
a doc out. It was on a personal trip
Yeah.
when we saw that.
I can't remember why we went up to the sea up there. I went up with Carrie Kunkel and Amy. Can't think of what her last name is now.
This is in Israel, you're saying?
No, this was in Poland.
Poland.
They wanted to go out and do some sightseeing and stuff like that, and I said, no, I just want to go sit on the beach at the sea, and I'll have a few beers. You guys can come find me when you're done or whatever. And I thought I would do that again. I would vacation over there with that. It was really nice.
Did you go to the Dead Sea in Israel and the Red Sea?
Not the Red Sea. I did the Dead Sea.
Yeah. Well, if you had to pick, I'd say Dead Sea
Yeah.
because that's so unique. And you went floating
They
in there.
floated.
Yep.
Yeah.
They told us not even to shave that morning
Yep.
because all the minerals in the water and stuff.
So I actually got to see the Dead Sea from the Israel side and from the Jordan side.
Oh, yeah,
I went
that's
over
right.
There, so, yeah.
Yeah, the Red Sea was just like a resort,
Yeah.
just hanging out with people.
And trying to remember if that was Ballpark and Marcy and I. That must have been Israel. Went driving one day and didn't realize how close we had come to crossing the Egyptian line. So, oh yeah, they're turning around here. But
In your career, when have you felt the most adrenaline pulsing through your veins?
that was probably when we were coming in to land in Israel. We were on a C-17, and I was toward the back, sitting next to Cameron. Mort was across from me, and Rognus, and they came across and said something that blah, 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 and whatever. And the next thing I know is I'm getting pushed back in my seat, and I'm looking up, and Mort's up there, and he's looking down at me like, what in the heck is going on here? I honestly thought we were crashing.
Mm-hmm.
And get on the ground and safe and sound. And apparently what they announced is they had to do a combat landing for practice and that. I can't remember if it was, Ed Vanderwoody was on the ground. He said, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Said, well, it wasn't from up there. Cameron's over next to me puking into a pillow and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually thought we were going to crash. So
Yeah, I remember sitting at Balad, Iraq, that first trip when things were a lot hotter,
yeah.
and that it was so busy, the air traffic and the ramp traffic. But right where operations was, you could see this, and those C-17s, they're amazing.
Yep.
They'd be flying straight at us, perpendicular to the runway.
Yeah.
And they would just do some moves and just slide that thing sideways and just lay it down on there. It's like that. I could sit out there and watch that all day.
Yeah, had we known that was what was going on, it would have probably been a whole different scenario. But
What's the most rewarding part of being in the service, and which service was that?
I kind of go back and forth on that. The one thing I liked about the Coast Guard is it's centered on saving lives, where I feel Air Force, it's more on taking lives, but you're taking them to save lives. So go back and forth on that one there. But both were interesting in the fact that it's a small community. even though Air Guard's part of the Air Force, a mother, but the Air Guard itself is pretty small, so is Coast Guard. So I like that about both of them too, I guess. Both have different rewards that I think back on. Which one do I enjoy more? It's a toss-up.
Mm-hmm. What's been one of your most challenging days?
Did I give you one?
And then after he answers, you can give us the most challenging day when he was gone, or two.
Actually, I think I just left QA and I was the command chief, and that's when we lost 477 out in California. That's such a record that we'd had going without losing an aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a bad day.
Well, and our unit in particular has earned not one, but earned many awards in all aspects of the Air Force. But the maintenance in particular as well was just very renowned for how well they performed and everything. And it's pretty good and amazing. But that deal right there was a shocker.
Yeah, all because of an O-ring.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you look back at the Space Shuttle Challenger too, is because of an O-ring. So
Yeah.
Amazing what that can do.
Mm-hmm. So what was the mood across maintenance, you think, when you guys first heard about that?
I think, well, of course, you didn't know what caused it right off the bat, and we'd just changed out that ISA on it and sent it out there.
And
of course,
an ISA is
it's the actuator for the, I think this one was a stab, if I remember right.
Okay. Flight controls type
Flight
stuff.
controls, hydraulics, and it had just got changed out, and it did its flight out there, and I think this was the next flight it had. So
people are worried about maintenance records and all
maintenance
that stuff.
records, they called in everybody and locked down the training records, the maintenance records, and all that, computers and everything else until they could figure it out.
And
so.
same on our side, aircrew flight equipment, you know, the parachute, the ejection seat stuff, a survival kit, life preservers, whatever they're wearing. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure everybody was kind of second-guessed. Is there something that we missed? Is there something that, you did wrong or something like that? But
praying that it wasn't.
Right, and it ended up, it wasn't. It was just a stupid malfunction, so.
Yep, and no loss of life, correct?
Correct.
That's the biggest part. That's the first thing everybody wants to know.
Yeah, to have it crash into a building. And
oh, yeah. I don't know if it's true or not, but a guy I was active duty with was the AFE guy there. Was the only full-time AFE person at any of the alert sites in the nation, actually. I'm not sure how they got that rigged up. But I don't know if it was from him or who I heard this, but maybe it was a warehouse that it just dropped into, right?
Yep.
And I'm hoping it's a true story, but that there was somebody in the building off to the side, and it was the janitor guy, and he's like, hell, if I'm cleaning this up. So even if it's not true, it's a fun story. And his mom just turns away.
Well, they had
My
video of
shift's
the
over.
jet sitting in the warehouse real soon, so somebody probably is in there or close by. So,
How about you, Sheri? What's a challenging situation or two you had being alone? Because we all know that things go wrong when the spouse is gone.
Yeah, probably the forefront that comes is the Singapore trip, which wasn't very long. It was, 3 weeks, maybe even. So in the scheme of things, it was a short trip, but it was the blizzard of 97?
97.
Oh, yes.
So I had one in a crib yet, and then 2 elementary school kids, and it was a fight every morning to try to get out to scoop snow. I mean, I was up at 4 a.m, and once again, it was, you're out there, you're hoping the kids are still sleeping in the house, we have just a half mile of gravel to get to the highway, but trying to scoop, and And then I'd get in the car and get them all to school or daycare. There wasn't school. I don't think they probably all had to go to daycare because the schools were closed, and drive to Sioux Falls and work. And then we'd come home and I couldn't get down our driveway or down the half mile again. So
That's the same place you live now.
same place we live now. So then I'd park and walk either with the kids over the drifts and get them in the house and then scoop again and then go so I could get the car back in. And it was every day.
Because there's no houses between you and that.
No, we're the
blacktop,
only
right?
one on that mile. And the maintainer never came that whole month. I mean, it was just crazy snow. And by the time he got home, we were in a tunnel. I mean, he sat on the loader and the snow was higher than it. We had nowhere to put it anymore or anything. But yeah, and the one day I was out early trying to scoop, and then I got up to the highway and was trying to push it with this plow on our old Cruella, we called her, this truck we had with the blade on it. And I got stuck on the highway, right in the middle of the highway. So I walked to the neighbors right there. Well, it's 5 a.m. and pounding on their door, and they're like, "What are you doing,
Right.
out here?" And the snowplow was coming, so I get back out there. He pushed me back and then continued on his way and threw a big pile of snow in front of me, so I had to back up in my little path that I had made and then got stuck south of the driveway with the little pickup. So went in the house and cried and went back to bed and got up at 7 o'clock and called work and said, "I can't get there today."
Sure.
And I got it's fine in town. So yeah, there were a few of those that
Yeah, it'd
stick
only
in
take
my-
a 10-mile-an-hour wind, and it would just completely
we
fill
walked
the
over
place
the
in.
tops of some of our trees. I mean, the drifts were
Yeah.
insane. So I had to scoop the propane guy in because our propane tank was just about empty, and the hose wasn't long enough. He couldn't fill from the road, and he couldn't get in all I could do was scoop the width of the blade. So he's like, I can't. And I'm like, "Don't leave me."
Yeah.
So he folded in the mirrors on his truck. Anyway, he could just squeeze through. He
Yeah.
did come in, and I'm like, "I have 3 kids in the house."
Feelings of desperation.
Right.
Yeah.
And my
Horrible.
the neighbors couldn't, I mean, everybody was just sucked in. They knew I was there by myself, but they were scooping themselves out. And my dad lives an hour away. He couldn't get there. I mean, it was just that
Yeah.
was probably the worst.
We had people from church driving by our place just to see the snow tunnels. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that thick, so.
Otherwise, no, I don't know. We got by. We had a flat daddy made when that was when he went to Iraq. I guess our youngest son was pretty young yet and was having a hard time with dad being gone that long. So we made a cardboard dad, and he took him everywhere. He got strapped in the car, and he wore sunglasses.
Oh, really?
And we put football jerseys on him, and he went to the football games with me, and we had birthdays with him, and so that was kind of fun. We still have him. He's hiding in the closet somewhere.
So what were some of your best days in the military? Or Coast Guard? Both.
I guess seeing the boys graduate basic and stuff like that, I thought was pretty cool to see them keep it going in the family and stuff like that. So I don't know what I would probably getting hired on finally was probably one of my best days.
Yeah. Ditto here.
Yeah. Finally, now we can start going. So
Yeah, when I started, it was $4.30 an hour raise.
yep.
And I remember, well, we had bought this place, and then we were strapped when we bought it. Then something in our lives changed, and I did the math on it, and I looked at Mary 3 months after we bought it, and I'm like, "We're going to go on the whole $50 every month. I don't know how long we can sustain it or whatever." And then luckily, about 4 months after that, came the full-time air guard job. So that was one of our best days as well, like you're saying.
I think I was on salary with Dakota Security, and at the time it was $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And you get this job, and what it was, it 12 or 15 bucks an hour or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, we were just coming in, raking in all this money all of a sudden. So,
Yep.
And we got lucky too when they put me on AGR prior to getting hired on full time. That's when we had Tyler. I think he was our cheapest kid ever. Ended up being what, $5?
$25.
$25
We paid because that was the Gulf War '91. He was born in September, and they went.
Yeah.
The guys got activated, and all of a sudden we got TRICARE
Yep.
because I had just started at the clinic. It had to been 90.
90.
Oh, yeah, I started in 90.
Yep.
That's not adding up. He was born in 91.
91.
Oh, yeah, December of 90 I
Right.
started, and he was born in September of 91. So, yes, I had just started this new job in Sioux Falls and then found out I was pregnant. So I had no insurance, nothing with his, and then he got full-time. And
Things keep working out.
I know.
You guys had some real close calls, sounds like, with things still working out.
Yep.
And 9/11, of course, you think that scary day.
Yeah, I can still remember walking into the shop and seeing that second one hit.
Mm-hmm.
This is not good.
Weren't we night flying at the time, so we had minimal crew in the morning?
Could have been. I was days. I wasn't doing night
Right.
flying that day then.
Mm-hmm.
But then we divided up the shop and sent half home and half stayed, and then we started doing 24-hour shifts as soon as it.
Yeah, because what I had heard is that we were called first to escort the president, but then they had to go away from us because we were night flying and we wouldn't be able to get people in soon enough to do stuff. So if anybody's watching this, if that's different, put it in the comments, correct me or whatever. But because I had stopped in the shop, one of our people were working, and she was going to move a parachute and kit or just take it to another shop or something. So I was helping her load it up. I showed up in civilian clothes. I was going to buy some wood for some reason or whatever, and stopped in. And while I'm there helping carry stuff to the truck, I walk by the ops desk, and I look up at the monitor, and the first jet hit. And she and I were carrying stuff out to the small truck we had. I was like, did you see that? What was that smoking on that building or whatever? And then we went back in, and then watching it, and then we all saw the second one hit, and we're like, ooh, I think I'll be putting my uniform on right now. And we were there for a long time after that, 24/7. As some would shift off, we're starting to call traditionals, put them on orders and all that. We didn't really know what was going to be going on. Crazy, scary times.
Yeah, that was probably one of the bad days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exhilarating.
Yeah.
Adrenaline raising.
Look how many more years it went on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So what are some of the most important things you learned with your service?
I don't know. It's just, I'm kind of a quiet guy, stay to myself, but I don't know that people really understood that I really did know about them and appreciate them. Probably wasn't the best at telling them that, but it's just a good crew out there. And I've been fortunate in even in the Coast Guard, some great friends from there, still keep in touch with them. And then again, out at the Guard, just really good people to work with.
Mm-hmm. And there's many that are friends outside of work, for sure.
Right.
Tons and tons of people that stay together. My wife and I, we talked for quite a few years, and early on in my career too, she couldn't understand how I would spend so much time with people that I work with, because in the civilian community, it isn't so much that.
Yeah.
And, we didn't all get along. We didn't all see eye to eye, but we could get along after hours and all that stuff. So with a lot of the deployments that we did, that's what I look forward to the most, was the camaraderie. While you're working is one thing, but after hours is another. And just formed so many good friendships that way. And that's why I really like going to the retirees coffee once a month. Because as we got older in our careers, of course, so many more and younger people were coming in, and our positions were changing, and you know, and you just didn't know near as many as what we did before.
Well, and you didn't get to interact with as many as you did before. So,
Right. So what do you do for hobbies now? What did you do for hobbies when you were young, when you were working, and then now that you're retired?
we camped a lot when I was a kid. A lot of fishing, a lot of hunting. Been pretty much hunting my entire life. Recently got more into the elk hunts with Jammer and Wally and Joel here in the last, 5 or 6 years. And really enjoy that.
Some of them on horseback.
We did a couple on, 2 on horseback. That was in Colorado. The last few that we've been going on are out in Wyoming, and that's on side-by-sides.
Yep.
So we're getting older, and we're enjoying the comforts of side-by-sides and staying in a little cabin, so that's been nice. Sheri and I, we still camp quite often. Like to travel. Did a trip over to, what did we do? London, Scotland, and Ireland last year. Last year. And then we did Niagara Falls, Boston and Bar Harbor, Maine. Wanted to go to see the trees changing, stuff like that, but our oldest son was getting married October 24th, and it really cut it close, so we went a little bit earlier than we wanted to, but still really nice up there. And the trees were changing when we went up to where they got married, so that worked out.
Yeah.
And now we got grandkids, so we'd like.
That's almost a job for some.
Well, it's going to be here in another week or so.
Yeah.
We get them while the kids go on a trip, so.
Hey, that's what Grandma and Grandpa do.
Yeah. That getting up in the middle of the night to feed them, and change them, that was a lot of years ago.
So do they call you Grandma and Grandpa, or do they have other names for you?
Grandma and Grandpa.
Grandma and Grandpa.
Because usually, like a lot of them have different names for like Grandma, like Mary is Nana, those kinds of things. You hear a little bit more nowadays.
No, our oldest grandson, they started me off as Papa.
Papa, that's right.
And I said, no, it isn't Papa, it's Grandpa.
To us, Papa is like Dad.
Yeah.
Right.
I said, no.
So we kind of stuck with, said that's who we are.
There
It's
you
Grandma
go.
and Grandpa.
Yeah. Some things it's good to be a traditionalist.
Right.
Yeah.
Nope.
There any other adventures come to mind, or anything else you'd like to mention on this deal?
Just the only other thing I can think up in Kodiak was old Sylvia, who probably wasn't old. She's probably my age now, back then. Worked in the lab at the clinic I worked at, and she was an expert fly tire.
Yep.
And she taught
Taught
Brett
me how to do it.
do that. So that was his hobby up there. He tied a lot of flies. He did that a lot at the kitchen table, all his different colors, and they were pretty, some of those flies.
Catch anything with them? Did you
Yeah.
use them?
Yeah.
Did you lose many?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Probably lost way more than I ever made, but we used to fly fish for salmon where the transmitter site was Buskin Lake, and then the Buskin River ran right out into the bay. So the salmon would run up that, so we'd get up about halfway and fly fish for them. And that I really do miss. I think you land one, I think it was a 16-pounder. Took me 45 minutes to pull that thing in because it would run at me. So you're pulling that string as fast as you can, and then all of a sudden you'd take off the other way. So you're trying to slow him down and just kept doing that back and forth. So that was a lot of fun.
Sounds like one of your best days.
Yeah, it was. That was really cool. Yep. And you couldn't snag them, so that was the other thing. And then they have these gnats up there all the time, so we always had a Swisher Sweet there. So if you were reeling one in and the game warden come and you weren't sure if you were snagged or not, then you just hit the line just in case, so they couldn't catch you snagging
They
them.
went your fly.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yep.
Just in case.
You could usually tell by how hard they were fighting if you had them snagged versus in the mouth, but
Yeah. Well, and you wouldn't know till they come up to the water, the surface the first time. So if they happen to be there and it just comes up, hopefully they wouldn't nail you.
Yeah, I don't know.
How would you really know?
I don't know.
Didn't want to test it.
unless you kept it, I don't
Yeah.
know what I never knew anybody that actually got nailed for it, so I don't know how they
Yeah.
would go with
Keeps
that.
you honest. So,
Yep. So,
any plans, projects for the near future here? You just finished a remodel last year, right?
yep.
I don't know. We still want to do some stuff on the deck, and our back porch. We'll have to do something
One of these
too
days.
eventually. But
Put a year between each major
yeah,
project is my
it's not
suggestion.
nothing that's
Give the body a little bit of rest for a year.
nothing
and-
that's urgent.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've been cleaning out your shop and
Yeah.
finding little projects. And
Yeah, that's about it.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you've seen many of these, but I ask this question quite a bit. And so you already, you've had your kids, you got your grandkids, you're doing that kind of thing. Next thing you know, there'll be great grandkids and great great grandkids. Those that you'll never meet.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
And who knows, maybe they'd get a chance to see this. So
Yeah,
just
that's-
figure you got about 40 of your great 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 grandkids sitting under that center camera. You can start. What would you like to say to your family in the future?
I'm sorry you didn't get to see the best grandpa ever.
Oh my.
Oh, wish I would have met you all. I don't know. And maybe that's part of our job too, is we were gone a lot. So the kids paid for a lot of that. So now that I can spend more time with the grandkids and make an effort at that, that definitely helps. So
How about you, Sheri? What would you like
You'll
to tell
make
them?
me cry. I was prepared to tell you how we stayed together all these years because I just heard this the other day.
That's good advice.
Is he was gone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we stayed together all these years.
Oh, I'm catching on
I
now.
just heard somebody that was married 61 years, and they asked them, what was your secret? And she said, he was gone a lot. I said, I could use that.
yeah, I've
That
been
used
asked
to
a lot.
be that used to be our joke was, don't you have a trip coming up pretty soon? Like, it's about time to
You're getting on my
get out of
nerves.
the house for a little bit.
Sound familiar, Mary?
Now
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. Well, I hope this world straightens out and
Yeah.
the good old days are yet to come. I hope. We think we've had the good old days, but I hope with faith that the good old days are still yet to come. So
That reminds me of something we've talked about before where, there's a lot of complaining about, how the guard's doing, the direction it's going and all that stuff.
Right.
And people talk about the good old days being gone. And I'm like, I'm agreeing with you, but please don't be saying that in front of the youngest troops.
Yeah.
Because this
Right.
is their good old days.
Right.
Every of those generations,
Right.
Yep.
their younger days, first half of life or so, that will always be their good old days. So, like you say, hopefully things get better
Right.
overall. But
and I'm sure the
there's-
generations before us thought the same thing, and
Yeah.
it's been forever.
Yep.
That-
Turmoil's been here
It's
since the
never
beginning.
going to be
Right.
like it is now,
I think
and
that's
it
one of
won't
the-
be.
One of the
Yep.
first things Charlie Merrow told Ballpark and I, just remember, these are your good old days since
Exactly.
we got hired.
Right.
And he was right. So,
Yeah.
Yep, and that's where I got that. I think I've heard you and another person say that. So I've just tried to pass that on as well. So, all right. Well, I think we've covered some things there.
All
Got
right.
a little bit of time here, and thanks for coming over and glad you guys came and had the first supper with us in the house there.
And
We
thank
do
you.
get together, every 4 to 8 weeks, something like that,
Yep.
6 to 8 weeks, and we'll have that continue. So
Good.
thank
Sounds
you
good.
for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you too, Sheri.
Yeah,
So,
I hope you
Hopefully
don't
there's
have to
something
edit
useful
the
out
whole
of this.
thing out. I don't know. Hopefully there's something you can use.
oh yeah, plenty. All right.
All right.
Thank you
All right,
guys.
thank
and
you.
Thanks for watching. We
Survived.
it. Oh, how's the survive part? How's the butt?
I got one of these in my shed too, but it froze. I sat on it.
Oh, it cracked.
Oh,
You got a crack under your crack?
hey Mary, look at this. The red light is still on.
He's gonna use that.
Great.
That's gonna be great. Gotcha. Yeah, these stools are much better when you have like a chair or box to put your feet on to raise up, so that makes it a lot better.
I'm gonna get you, Jim.
That's hilarious. She leans right into it. You got a crack under your crack. Oh, thank you for that.